have about 100.
We have to wait about 270 something.
Oh, okay.
Right now, just about 50%.
I see. Can we?
Okay, please wait a minute, or we can start right now. Pulina.
I think I can wait. Sure, no problem. So they are all public health science student, right?
Yeah, undergraduate in Bachelor of Public Health.
Which year? First year, second year, third year?
Third year.
So this is for research methodology before they do the KKN. Is it KKN or final year project? I'm not sure.
They have KKN as well. So they have for thesis, bachelor thesis.
Okay.
Okay, for waiting the student, can we start now? I will try to describe some introduction first, and then we can go for the your session.
Sure.
Okay, good morning everyone. Selamat pagi. Thank you so much for Dr. Sumaya for your time to join with us for having guest lecture in some topic and subject in Faculty of Public Health University of Erlangga regarding for the activity in our faculty. Of one of the person in charge that in charge of your activity in our campus, and Dr. Sumaya will have some lecturers in bachelor degree and also master degree. Can I introduce myself? My name is Sigit Arisaputro, and I'm one of the lecturer in the Department of Epidemiology, Biostatistics, and Population and Health Promotion under the section of Biostatistics and Population. So we also have here the head of the Division of Biostatistics and Population, Dr. Sunar Natalina Melaniani, Master of Health, and she is one of she is the lecturer's coordinator for research methodology for this subject. So actually, I try to communicate each other between the lecturer coordinator for each subject, and also connect to the visiting professor or visiting lecturer like you. So please welcome Pulina to also to say something before the class before the session will start.
She's driving, right? Be safe.
Okay. If Pulina is still driving, so it's okay. Pulina will join us in this activities, in these lectures. So thank you so much. Regarding regarding the Dean of Public Health and also the head of department today that they cannot come to our lectures. We want to say thank you so much for your kind opportunity, Dr. Sumaya, and I wish you can teach and have a lot of science and also materials to improve our student regarding the research methodology area. So for the student, please follow the class for Dr. Sumaya today, and the link for join with us will send you during the session. So time is yours, Dr. Sumaya. The screen and time, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sigit. All right. So I now know that all of you are actually taking this subject for your preparation for your thesis. Okay. So I will start share my screen now. Okay. All right. All right. I will share this. Yeah. Okay, so I've been actually Google what is Etika Penelitian Kesehatan, okay, to like match it to our subject today. So it's actually more like ethics and medical ethics. Okay, but then I believe we need to focus more on research because this is a research methodology class. Okay, so today I've been given 2.5 hours, which is quite ample time for us to like discuss about this. Okay, so about me briefly, I'm actually a lecturer in the Center for Healthy Aging and Wellness, Faculty of Health Sciences, International University of Malaysia, which is University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Okay. I'm not a doctor and I'm not also a public health practitioner. I'm actually, I would call myself a scientist, okay, because I did my degree in biotechnology and then I pursue my master medical science and my PhD in medicine, and I pursue postdoc in this population health. Okay, I did a more like epidemiological study, like prevalence study, longitudinal study, and so on. Okay. All right. So what we learn today is about what is research ethics per se, and what are the available guidelines. Okay, and to focus on your own expertise as a public health sciences is we will look at ethics in the public health. Okay, and what is the responsible conduct of research, right? Okay. So first we will look at the history. Okay, what is all about research ethics? All right. So we know that to conduct a research, we need ethics. Okay, why do we need ethics? Okay, all right. So first of all, research is not always useful. Okay, as a scientist, we love to do research to push boundaries in the knowledge. Okay, maybe I on my camera. It's better. Usually when we do research, why we do research? Because we would like to gain a new knowledge. We would like to push boundaries in the knowledge. We want to find a gap. Okay, we want to link gap. Okay, so there is a gap in the knowledge, so we would like to fulfill it so that we know what we don't know, and we would like to improve the condition or any what we call problem. We want to solve a problem. Okay. However, that research is not always useful in terms of it could harm people. Okay. So we look back all the history. Okay, we know that there is Nazi medical experiment during 1946 in World War II. Okay, they use the refugees, okay, to do the experiments. Okay, they inject with a highly potent bacteria. Okay, they use different poisons. So all this kind of experiments is not necessarily actually useful. Okay, because it could harm the what we call the samples or the subjects. Okay, especially in this World War concentration, we know that there are refugees that can be the what we call master, instead of just to improve the knowledge. Okay, and in World War II, okay, there is Japan's human experiments program. Okay, they use people to conduct a bacteriological trial. This is also actually harmful. This is not that useful because we know that the subject gain no benefits. Okay, there's very hazardous, like what we call things that they put on the refugees or the subjects that harm the subjects. Okay. Example also here, the frostbitten hand. Okay. They put the Chinese person outside in winter just to experiment on how best to treat frostbite. Ridiculous, right? These are all human. We are all human beings. We are not. We are not. It's not that human to be treated like this. Okay, so this is, even though it's a research purpose, but it's harmful. And this is the Stanford prison experiment. This is very famous issue or case. They actually made a film on this issue. Okay, a psychologist named Philip Zimbardo. He set out to examine how the situation we find ourselves in affect our behavior. Okay, so he put human volunteers in the mock prison. Okay, so in the university, so they make a prison, okay, in a mock prison. Say they put human volunteer, which is the subjects. Okay, and then they assign the role of prisoner or guard and asked to behave in ways to act like a guard or prisoner. Okay, and it turns out it's very realism. Okay, prisoners were even arrested by local police. Okay, even though they're just volunteer, but then they get arrested, and from there, it's intended to run for 2 weeks, but it ended at 6 days because the guard has subjected prisoner to increasingly abusive, dehumanizing, brutal behavior, causing extraordinary distress. Okay, so this is a film that I mentioned. Okay, the Stanford prison experiment. Maybe you can have a look at this movie. Okay, look out for this movie to see how actually this experiment conducted. Even though it sounds like very like logic, right? We just want to see how people react in the prison condition. So you assign prisoner, we assign guard, but then it turns out very realism. Okay, some of them become very abusive, dehumanizing, and then harm each other. So this is what we don't want to be happen in any research study. We would like to have a research study that can actually benefit and no harm. Okay. All right. So there are well-established ethics framework. Right. So before we just go to what is ethics, what is research ethic, what is ethic, I would like to throw all these ethics framework, or would like to introduce all these guidelines first, so that you can think, okay, how and also extract from all these ethics framework, what is the main principles pertaining on all the research ethics. Okay, so there is 1964 Declaration of Helsinki. Okay, so whenever you are doing a research ethics, you need to when you are doing a research, you need to cite. Okay, your research is actually comply with 1964 Declaration of Helsinki in your manuscript. You need to cite in your manuscript. Okay. The other three is not really what we call famous, but then there is actually 1979 Belmont Report, Nuremberg Code, and also Geneva Declaration. Okay. So what is the international bodies that contribute to develop of ethical review process in the world? Okay. So we have the Council of Health Research or Development. Okay. WMA, CIOMS, you can just Google it. Okay. The Wellcome Trust, United States National Institute of Health, NIH, okay, Council of Europe. So all these bodies were the one who contribute to the development of ethical review process in the world. Okay. Right. So now I will start to explain about the Declaration of Helsinki. Okay. What is it about? Okay. And from here you can actually turn out what is the principle surrounding research ethics. Okay. So according to Declaration of Helsinki, okay, so any research, okay, first and foremost need to protect patient health. Okay. So we know that if you're a doctor, you need to take a Hippocratic oath. Okay. First, do no harm. Primum non nocere. All right. And the Declaration of Geneva has actually emphasized this point from the Declaration of Helsinki, okay, in which that emphasize the health of my patient will be my first consideration. Okay. So any research must be designed to reduce potential harm. Okay. Right. So when we look back in the examples earlier, those experiments conducted in World War II by Japan, by the Nazis, and all of that had potential harm and actually more harm than benefit. You can see that how the experiment harmed the subject, and there is no like what we call possibility that the subjects can be saved after the experiment conducted. Okay. So we would like to have research have very minimal harm or reduce any potential harm. Okay, so it does not exceed the benefit. Okay, so it may never supersede this protection. So first, according to the Declaration of Helsinki, any research should protect the patient health or the subject health. Okay. All right. Second one. Okay. Knowledge cannot trample rights. Okay. So we know that in any medical research, we would like to generate new knowledge, we would like to push the boundaries in the knowledge, we like to find a gap and fill in the gap. Okay. To better understand the causes, development. Okay. Just take one example like COVID, right? So to understand COVID-19, we need to do a lot of research to understand what is the best vaccine, okay, what is the impact, okay, what is the origin of the pandemic, the infection. So all this needs research. Okay. We know that only by doing research we can generate new knowledge. Okay. However, we need to bear in our mind that knowledge cannot trample rights. Okay. Because according to Declaration of Helsinki, okay, this goal, the goal of generating new knowledge, better understanding of the condition, a new condition or whatsoever, can never take precedence over the rights and interests of individual is a subject. Okay. So our subject, our participants have rights. Okay. Our interests cannot exceed their right. Okay. Our interest of getting new knowledge or whatsoever can never take precedence over their rights. Okay. Physician involved, especially in medical related, clinical related research. Okay. Physician involved in the medical research must protect first life, health, dignity, integrity, autonomy. Okay, right. This is the words that I will be repeating for the whole lecture. Okay, autonomy, privacy, confidentiality. Okay, right. So as a physician, if you are like dealing with medical or clinical research, so as a physician, you need to protect all this. Okay, so this is the human right. Okay, we have our autonomy. If we are the one who involved in the study, we are the one, the subject of the study. Okay, we should have the autonomy. Okay? We should be protected. Our privacy, we should be protected, and our personal information should be confidential. Okay, so this is our right. So if you are involving or if you are joining any study, okay, so you need to bear in mind what's your right. Okay, but according to the Declaration of Helsinki, this is what they have emphasized in the what we call guideline. Right. Right. The next consideration is any studies involve humans should only be conducted by individuals with appropriate scientific and ethical education, training, and qualification. Okay. So in Malaysia, okay, our like what we call requirement. If I would like to do research related to human or any medical research, I need to show my good clinical practice cert. Okay, so I took a course. Okay, we need to pay, of course. It's about 600 ringgit. Okay, pay the course. There is someone checking. So after the course, I need to take an exam. Okay, so for me to get a cert as a good clinical practice cert. Okay, if I don't have this cert, I can't conduct any medical research. Okay. So when I'm using it, I will be using it when I'm applying a ethics clearance for my study. So in the ethics clearance, they will ask, please attach a good clinical practice cert. So that's how Malaysian ethics review board works. They ask for the cert. Okay, that's because it showed that we already had appropriate ethical education training during the prior the medical prior the research to be conducted. Okay. In most cases, it should be supervised by a qualified physician or healthcare professional. This is also important. Okay? So as a non-doctor like me, usually in most of my studies, I will involve a physician. Okay? So the ethics medical review board will ask whether there are qualified physicians in my team, because I'm doing medical research, right? So they should be there to look for the harm and also benefit of my research. Okay. Okay, and when the research is conducted, it must also minimize potential harm to the environment. Okay, so we need to also be environmental friendly, of course. Okay, no such like pollution made or any like pollution, mostly pollution, and also if you have like biological waste, we need to make it take it in a such manner which is appropriate manner. Okay, underrepresented groups should be provided adequate access to research opportunities. This is important, especially for those in public health. Because of what? Because equality, right? Equality. Okay, so everyone deserves opportunity, equal opportunity to get involved in any research studies. Okay, and like me, I'm conducting aging research. Okay, so in my research, we take all economic status of participants. It's not just those who are living in urban, okay, who are really have high income. We also take all those living in the rural area who has no income or poor economic status. Okay, so our study should also highlight equality. Okay, in which everyone can have the same opportunity to get involved in the research. Okay, usually there is issue in aging research in which not every older people can get involved in like exercise intervention. Okay, because of some of the exercise intervention has very strict inclusion criteria. Okay, so inevitably actually make those who are like poor health condition that can't really involve in the research study. So that is one of the example. Okay, example of inequality, I would say, or discrimination in conducting research. Okay, if harm occurs, appropriate compensation and treatment must be provided. This is a must. Okay? This is a must, especially in any randomized control trial or trial study. When you provide treatment, or if you are doing like a pharmaceutical study, okay, drug study, okay, you provide drugs, okay, to look at the impact of drugs on the subjects. So if there are any what we call it adverse event, okay, the event that we don't want to be happen, okay, like maybe there is like side effect of the drugs, and also example, okay, you gave your subjects these drugs, okay, it turns out it's have a side effect in which they are vomiting or they get sick. So as a researcher, we need to provide treatment. It's a must to provide treatment. It is unethical if you just ignore the adverse event. Okay, if you don't stop the intervention or you make it, you just continue even though the participant are sick due to your intervention. If in exercise intervention, intervention, there is possibility of this kind of adverse event. Okay, so example, I'm dealing with older people, right? So I give them exercise, and then there is an adverse event in which they broke their arm. So as a researcher, I need to stop my research, stop my intervention on this particular participant, okay, and give appropriate compensation. Okay, compensate. Okay, maybe she already seek treatment outside. Okay, so we need to compensate the bill. Okay, the medical bill. Okay, so this is all research what we call a responsibility. Okay, we need to consider all this. Okay, if harm occurs, we don't want harm to be occurs, but there is possibility of adverse event in any medical research. Okay, so in ethics application, usually we would mention what is the potential harm and how would you actually what we call counter the harm. Okay, what is your planning? What is the planning on if the harm occurs? Would you pay them or give them treatment or what? Okay. And I did one research on what we call level of depression, anxiety, stress. This is a survey. So I would think all of any of you who also doing this kind of study. I'm evaluating the level of depression, anxiety, and stress among medical undergraduates and also physiotherapy undergraduates. So the ethics board asked me, okay, what would you do if it's happened that you found the student highly depressed, okay, highly anxious and stressed. Okay, so I need to mention in my protocol or in my proposal, okay, that if the student or if the subject is highly depressed or stressed or anxious, I will contact them immediately, okay, and provide them necessary information on how to seek help, okay, where to go, okay. So I need to give them information on the psychiatric clinics available, okay, something like that. Right? So that's part of the Declaration of Helsinki, okay. There are 10 specific actions under Declaration of Helsinki. Okay. So first is risk, burden, and benefit. Okay. So we know that the three main point in Declaration of Helsinki. First is do no harm, right? Okay. So we to justify or to examine whether our research has more harm or what, we need to see the risk, burdens, and benefit. Okay. So later I will go through how actually they weighing up the risk, burdens, and benefit. Okay. Second one is vulnerable groups and individuals. Okay. So we know that medical research is to improve or get new knowledge, right? To improve understanding on a certain condition, okay, on the diagnosis, on the treatment. So we cannot avoid to deal with vulnerable group, okay, the one who already get the condition and the one who had the problem, basically. Okay, all right. The next is scientific requirements and research protocols. Okay, so just now I mentioned proposal. Proposal is more like protocol. So when you are doing your thesis later, you need to come up with a proposal first. Okay, that proposal will be your research protocol to apply ethics and so on. Okay, research ethics committee. Okay, so we'll explain who are there. Okay, and privacy and confidentiality. What's account for privacy? What's account for confidentiality? Okay, informed consent. So this is the things that you need to have in your ethics application. You need to have informed consent. Informed consent, proposal, patient or participant information sheet. Okay, so this is the document that you need to provide prior conducting the research. Okay, use of placebo. This one is more to like a drugs trial. Okay, so when you do drugs trial, we have real drugs for the intervention groups, and placebo is not a real drug. Okay, maybe it looks like the same, but the contents, maybe there is no actually drugs as compared to the real drugs. Okay, so for 0.78 is usually for trial study, which I suppose this is not really related to your own expertise, because most of you are doing a public health kind of studies. None of you actually will get involved in trial, right? Drug study, I suppose. Yeah. Research registration and publication and dissemination of results. Okay, so that's why you need to write a thesis. Okay, after you conduct a research, you need to submit a thesis because you want to publish the result. Okay, so you have collected all the data from all the subjects. It is your responsibility to tell the people out there what is the result of your research. Okay, and dissemination of result. Okay, so from your thesis, you can actually also publish a paper. Okay, a paper. What is a paper? It's actually a journal article, which is shorter than your thesis, that you can submit in any journal out there relating to your expertise. Okay, maybe environmental science or occupational health. Okay, so you can use you can publish that, and people around the world will read your works and cite your works. Okay, you can also write from thesis, but usually we researcher are more preferred to cite from paper. Okay, because it's shorter and more like concise, right? Okay, and unproven intervention, research registration. Sorry, research registration. Okay, so when you are doing any RCT, okay, randomized control trial, you will need to register your research. Okay, so there is a lot of research registry available. Okay, so for me, usually I register in Australian, New Zealand registry for the RCT. Okay, maybe it's nearby to Malaysia, Australian, New Zealand. Yeah. Okay, but there is also other research registry available. You can just search it online. Okay, unproven intervention in clinical practice. Okay, so this one unproven. So this one is more like for the clinical practice. So I don't think it's related to all of you. Okay. Right. So this is one of the net risk tests. This is how they actually weigh the risk, burden, and benefit. Okay. Whether the benefit outweigh the burden or the harm. Okay. So they put like minimize intervention risk and enhance its benefit. Does the intervention offer a potential clinical benefit? If yes, if no, are the net risk sufficiently low and justified by the social value of intervention? Yes, it's acceptable. No, it's not acceptable. Okay. All right. So that's how research, ethical research review board, one of it, of course, one of it on how they weigh or they're weighing out the burden and benefit. Okay. There's a lot of studies available, a lot of scientists would like to explore on anything, the area of their interest. Okay, so the ethical review board will look at the net risk. Okay, is it low? Okay, and justified? Okay, that's why in your proposal you also need to put justification of your study. Okay, you need to justify why would you want to conduct this kind of study. Okay, is it really important? Is it really benefit the participants? Okay. Does it have social value? Okay. So if now something like COVID-19, right? COVID-19 is very important issues. So anything related to COVID-19 usually has high value of intervention. Okay. We would like to stop long COVID. We know about the issue of long COVID, right? People who had a COVID has what we call long-term impact of COVID. Okay, so we need to have intervention to treat or to really to find a better way to treat long COVID. What is the exercise that can improve long COVID, as an example? Okay, what are the what we call therapy that can improve this condition? Okay, but is there any risk? So you need to weigh out the risk and the benefit. Okay. This is other like we call methods. Okay. Just now net risk flowchart. Okay. This is other method that ethical reviewer use. Okay. This is the 7-step framework for risk-benefit evaluation in biomedical research. Okay. So first, ensure there is study social value. Social value is very important. If there is no value of the study, social value of the study, so we may not need to conduct the study at all, right? Identify the research intervention. Okay, so the first one, social value. So example, okay, so example like diabetes. Okay. So we know that diabetes will impact the person disability life years, right? Due to the side effect of diabetes like gangrene or amputation and all. Okay, so then we know that okay, there is social value of this study of diabetes. Okay, And then we would like to identify the research intervention. Okay, so maybe the intervention for this diabetes participant is new drugs. Okay, new drugs to improve their blood glucose level, something like that. Okay, and we need to, the next step is to evaluate the risk, whether there is any risk of this drug. But you need to bear in mind, any drugs trial, they need to undergo the animal study first. Okay, there is a lot of level before jump to actual human clinical trial. There is animal studies and what we call safety studies of the drug itself. Then only jump into then only you can conduct a human trial. Okay, evaluate and enhance the potential benefits for participants. Okay, whether the intervention pose net risk, okay, whether the net risks are justified, okay, and whether the net risks are justified by the studies social value. Okay. So this is the 7-step framework for risk benefits evaluation in biomedical study research. Okay. All right. So actually you can Google this paper. All these 3 what we call steps is reported in this paper. Okay, the in the BMC medical ethics. Okay, the risk benefit task of research ethics committee and evaluation of current approaches and the need to incorporate decision study method. Okay, so that's how the research ethics committee proposed to conduct the risk benefit analysis. Okay, so this is the risk benefit analysis value 3. Okay, so there is risk, to list out the risk. They will list out the risk of your study and the benefit of your study. Okay, and look at the risk. Is it due to the experiment or intervention or due to the study participation? Okay, because study participation, certain harm due to study, probably it can be divided into certain harm due to study participation, probable harm due to study participation. All right. For the benefit, it could be to the individuals and to the society. So whether there is direct benefit or no direct benefit. Okay. Okay. So now, just now I already mentioned about vulnerable groups. Okay. So what does it really means with vulnerable groups and individuals? Okay. So the vulnerable groups and individuals are those whose willingness to volunteer in a clinical trial may be unduly influenced by the expectation, whether justified or not, of benefit associated with participation, or of that. This one, the words are quite jargon because it's what we call, it's like a law book. Okay, so you need to have a what we call written definition or terminology used in this definition. Okay, or of a retaliatory response from a senior members of a hierarchy in case of result to participate. So participants should have capacity. Capacity, what does it mean with capacity? Capacity is that they can decide on their own. Okay, it's not influenced by others. Okay, whether justified or not, whether they know the benefit or not. Okay, whether they are actually like there are hierarchy, like maybe you are doing your research, right, and then you ask your brother, your younger brother, hey, take part of this research, my research. That can become an unethical. Okay, if your brother are not able to decide on his own, okay, influenced by you, then we consider that this kind of study is unethical because it's decided by others, right? It's not that their willingness. Okay, they are not forced. They should not be forced to be part of the study. Okay, so usually if there is like hierarchy, it will be even worse. Okay, because like my friend, she did a study of bullying in medical field. So she will ask the younger doctors to take part. Okay, so that kind of if she's not forcing them, then it's okay. But if they are she forcing them to be part of the survey or what, okay, so there is issue in ethics. Okay, right? So maybe there is possibility that the younger doctors won't be what we call truth in answering the survey. Okay, right. Okay, what is protocol? Okay, so I mentioned just now, you need to have protocol, you need to have proposal. Okay, proposal prior to conducting your study. So before you reach your thesis, you need to write a proposal first. Okay, so what contains in proposal? Okay, proposal need to have objective, right? Design methodology. Okay, how would you conduct the study? Is it a longitudinal? Is it a cross-sectional study? Is it a like drugs trial, a randomized control trial study? Okay, and you need to put statistical consideration. Okay, so is it your sample size is powered enough to conduct this kind of study, to come up with this kind of conclusion? Okay, so that's a statistical consideration. Okay, organization of a trial. So how would you recruit the participants, screen the participants, and then randomize the participants? This is all about research protocol. Okay, it's usually give a background and rationale. That's the one that will be useful for the research ethics to actually weigh out the risk and benefit of the study. So just now I mentioned, put justification of your study in your proposal. Okay, we need to justify why does this study has to be conducted. Okay, what is the rationale behind all this research? Okay, research studies. Okay. Okay, research ethics committee. Okay, so to come out to decide whether research is ethical, okay, is safe, okay, or not, this is the works. This is works rely on the research ethics committee. So in every institute, there is research ethics committee. Okay, like in Malaysia, in every university with a hospital, okay, with a teaching hospital, usually we have research ethics committee. Okay, the institutional review board. Okay, and independent ethics committee. So right. So what does it mean with every institutional needs review board? Because we would like to downsizing the work, right? So if all university rely on one review board, the works become heavy, right? But then we do have Ministry of Health review board and institution like each university review board. Okay, whenever we would like to use data from government hospital, okay, we need to submit our ethics application in the ministry review board. Okay, but if we are not using the government's hospital data, we will just focus on our institute review board. Okay, so that's how research ethics in Malaysia works. Okay. Right? They are the ones responsible to safeguard the rights, safety, and well-being of all trial subjects. So usually when we like to apply for ethics clearance, they will ask these following documents. Okay? I already mentioned just now, protocol or your proposal. So what is inside your protocol? You have objective, you have methods, justification, rationale, statistical consideration, all that need to be in the protocol. Okay, and then you also need to submit consent form. Okay, consent form usually the format is the same. Okay, regardless where you apply it. Okay, usually they will put like therefore consent that I will be joining. Then I understand what is it. So the participant will sign the consent form and submit to the researcher, and the researcher will also give a copy of consent form to them. Okay, but then for IRB, of course, they just want a blank consent form. Okay, participant information sheet. Okay, so to recruit a participant, we need to give them a stack. It's not a stack, maybe like 3-4 pages of information sheet. Okay, what is the potential harm? What is the what we call what is the benefits? Okay, how long would the study will be conducted? Okay, we need to tell the participant about the study. So in the participant information sheet, it should be concise and complete. Okay, so that the research ethics know that you will give thorough information about your study prior conducting the research itself. Okay, all right. Investigator current CV. Also in the participant information sheet, you should also put what is your compensation if harm occur. Okay, so you need to spell out everything. Okay, in your information, called PIS, participant information sheet. Okay, and then investigator current CV and evidence of qualification. Okay, so if you have a research team, okay, so you have maybe a lead researcher, co-investigators. Okay, so all these investigators should submit CVs, curriculum vitae. Okay, curriculum vitae. So they would like to know your educational background. Okay, and also what is your experience in conducting research, whether you had bad experience or you have been unethical, something like that. Okay, and evidence of qualification. So if you are doctors, maybe you need to submit registration of what we call APC, we call it APC, the license to practice. Okay, or just now the good clinical practice cert. Me, I need to scan copy my cert and submit to the IRB or IRC. Okay, so these documents that are needed. Okay, so I think it's the same to other whether you are in Indonesia or in UK or in any part of the world, they need all these four. Okay, your protocol, okay, your proposal, basically your proposal, okay, consent form, okay, participant information sheet, okay, and CV and evidence and of qualification. Okay, so you need to remember this. I will ask later. All right. Privacy and confidentiality. Okay, privacy and confidentiality. Okay, what is it all about? Okay, we would like to prevent any disclosure, okay, to other than authorized individuals of sponsors proprietary information or of a subject's identity. Okay, so usually when we do our research, okay, especially if you are doing like what you call infectious disease study, right? So some of them has HIV, okay? And then you have the details of the people of the subject who had HIV. So you need to protect their personal details, right? Their phone, their addresses, their age is like birthday, something like that. Okay, you need to protect. Okay, because we know that if the data breach, okay, other people will take advantage. Maybe the one who are very extreme will sabotage them whatsoever, right? So it is important to keep their privacy and confidentiality. Okay? Talking about privacy and confidentiality, I did a study on actually just to look association between knee pain, okay, no, not association, just a prevalence of knee pain, just more like a public health study, just to look at the prevalence of knee pain. Okay, and then I submit to PLOS1 the paper, okay, to publish in PLOS1. But then PLOS1 asks us to also deposit repository, deposit our data, upload our raw data there. But then they ask us to remove any identifier. Okay. I was actually surprised because for them, date of birth can also be an identifier. They say date of birth, you need to remove date of birth as well, not just their real name, not just their address or what we call a telephone number. Even date of birth, they say please remove because it could be an identifier as well. So as a researcher, it is our responsibility, our obligation to protect all this information from unauthorized access. Okay, so if you are doing like public health study or survey, something like that measure their income, this is also important to protect. Okay, because they are outside there scammers who like to attack all these kind of individuals. Okay, so as a researcher, it's a must for us to keep their privacy and confidentiality. Okay, so it includes any information, right? Even though it's just and date of birth. Okay, when we think of date, it's just date of birth, but then they say it could be an identifier. Okay. All right. So this is type of information that may include personal characteristics or other information about which an individual has a reasonable expectation of privacy. Okay. So, yeah, age, ethnicity, educational background, employment status, health history, life experience, religions, social status. This is all we expect to be our privacy lah, right? So we need to remove our identifier so that people won't unresponsible people won't take advantage. Okay, won't what we call misuse all this data on like health history, employment history, right? Religion. Okay, right. The following categories provide guidance for assessing the extent to which information could be used. Okay, so it's either directly identifying information, indirectly identifying information, coded information, anonymous information, anonymous information. Okay, so it can be all this. Okay, so even though you have coded, you can still detect, right? Okay, so this is informed consent. Okay, what is informed consent? Okay, why is it so important? So this is the definition of informed consent. Okay, all this definition actually I took from my good clinical practice book, the one that I have, the one that I go through the course and take exam. Okay, so it's all like book based definition. Is not that from website or what. Okay, so informed consent is the process by which a subject voluntarily confirms his or her willingness to participate in a particular trial after having been informed of all aspects of the trials that are relevant to the subject's decision to participate. Okay? Informed consent is documented by means of a written, signed, and dated informed consent form. So the keywords here is voluntarily and after having been informed. That's why it called informed consent. So just now I mentioned about the PIS, participant information sheet. So after they read the information sheet, then only they make decision whether they want to participate or not. Okay, if they don't want to participate, you can't force them. Okay, it should be voluntary. Okay, right? And the form should be a written form, means they can write their own name. Okay, they tick, you can tick I agree or not. Okay, then they can sign. Okay, and then they can put a date. Okay, so usually we put like carbon paper in between, so we can take the original and give them the copy consent form. Okay, right. So that's is a consent form, informed consent. There is also a secondary use of consent. So usually in a research, any research, okay, it's not that we will do the research one time and they not use the data anymore. Okay, sometimes there is situation in which you will need to reuse the study. Okay, maybe you would like to follow up the participants. Okay, maybe in the first consent, you say you will take their data or take their information at this time only. But then after 5 years, suddenly you say, I would like to follow up my all cohort, something like that. Okay, my all cohort is a group of participants that you have recruited. Okay, so you decide, I would like to see the longitudinal effect of the condition at the baseline to all these 5 years, until today on their other status like vital status, something like that. So you want to make a secondary use of the research information. Okay, so there is a requirement in which researcher who have not obtained consent from participant for secondary use shall only use such information if they have satisfied the review board that identifiable information is essential to this research. Okay, the use of identifiable information without the participant consent is unlikely. So when we would like to follow up, means we need to call them back, right? Okay, so that's the things related to identifiable information. Okay, so you need to make sure that you meet all these requirements before you use your first consent as your secondary use. Okay? So things like researcher will take appropriate measure to protect and safeguard. Researcher will comply with any known preference previously expressed by individuals. Impossible to seek consent from, if it's impossible to really seek consent, then that's okay. Okay, maybe you just want to look at like their mortality status. Okay, so I did a study on impact of cognitive frailty on mortality. So the data for cognitive frailty is collected on 2013, but in the end of 2020, I would like to see their mortality rate. Okay, so what I did is actually give all the IC number, identification card number to the national registry. Okay, so they will check whether all this IC number has death certificate or not. Okay, so it is impossible, right, to call back the participant if the participant already died. Okay, so that's what does it mean with secondary use of the consent. Okay, all right. So this is Geneva Declaration. Okay, so Geneva Declaration I have actually mentioned in the what we call in the Helsinki Declaration. Yeah, this one. Yeah, right. Do no harm, and the Declaration of Geneva emphasized this one. Okay. So it's actually related to Helsinki Declaration. Let me see. So this is the pledge by the medical profession, of course. I think it's not that related to you as a public health scientist, okay? But it's good to know, okay? It's good to know that in any medical ethics, there is a Geneva Declaration that can protect patients' right, patient health. Okay? Respect autonomy and dignity. Okay, maintain utmost respect for human life. Not permit consideration of age, disease, disability, ethnic, gender, and intervene between my duty and my patient. Respect the secrets. Okay, practice conscience dignity, foster the honor and noble tradition. Okay, give to my teachers, respect the teacher. Okay, share my medical knowledge with the patient. All right. Okay. Will make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. So this is Geneva Declaration. Okay. Okay. So we know about Helsinki, Geneva, and the other one is Belmont Report. Okay. This is created by the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research. Okay, so there is three main principles in this report. I think more or less the same. Okay, respect of persons, beneficence, benefit, okay, and justice. For the national health in the US, their ethics had 7 main principles. First is whether the research have a social clinical value, okay, scientific validity, fair subject selection, okay, need to be fair, okay. You can't be like discriminate those subject, okay, maybe by their age or by their ethnicity, example, okay. You need to include inclusive, not exclusive, okay. Fair selection, okay. If those one is recruited through a screening, then everyone is recruited through a screening, okay. Fair subject selection, okay. You cannot just pick and recruit them, okay. Favorable risk-benefit ratio. Just now we have learned how to actually weighing out risk and benefit. Okay, we need to have favorable ratio, okay, according to NIH. Okay, of course, benefit should outweigh the risk. Okay, if the net risk is there is net risk, they need to be justified. Okay. Independent review, okay. So it should not be influenced by a group polarization, something like that. Okay. So the ethics board have independent reviewer that can review our proposal and all our documents. Okay. Informed consent, okay, is a must. It's a must to have informed consent in which participants are voluntarily sign and dates written in this document prior to the research to be conducted. Okay, respect for potential and enrolled subject. Okay, whether they are enrolled or not enrolled, respect. Okay, the subject. So this is basically responsible conduct of a researcher. Okay, first, honesty. You need to be honest. Okay, you need to be objective. Of course, objective, right? You cannot do anything under the sun, right? You need to be objective. Must be focused. Okay, if your research in this issue, just focus in this issue. Don't go around the bush and pick a lot of issue at one time. Okay, just focus. Be objective. Integrity. Okay, so as a researcher, you need to have your own integrity. Don't bribe your participant. Yeah? Don't bribe your participant. Please, please join my study. I will pay you 200 rupiah. Don't be like that. You should have integrity. Don't bribe. Okay, don't force them. Okay, carefulness. Of course, carefulness. Okay, we need to treat our data carefully, right? No missing data, something like that. If you are doing public health, of course you will be dealing with a lot of data. Okay, or if you are doing like a clinical trial, you need to be careful. Don't make simple mistake like placebo and the real drugs you misplace or you give them wrongly. So that's thing. Okay, openness. Okay, need to be open. Accept whatever complaint come from the subjects. Okay, all right. Don't be too rigid. Okay, must be like flexible a bit. Okay, so there is adverse event, so you need to like report the event and take necessary what we call action, whether you want to compensate something like that. And if the like flexible, I mean like when if you are doing longitudinal study, right? So maybe there is different in follow-up time. So just report it. Just report the follow-up time, the median. No, not really. You can some students they feel like they need to like follow my timeline. It's not that, because sometimes research is not what it's not that rigid. We can actually counter back by reporting the median or follow-up, something like that. Okay, instead of fixed, everyone must be follow up by 5 years. It's not like that. Okay, right? Transparency. Okay, what you did, you report. Okay, if you can't actually follow up them at the right time, 5 years, just report. Okay, so there is possibility that in your report, there is possibility that participant came later than their follow-up time due to blah blah blah. Okay, just report. Be transparent. Okay, this is life. Research is life. It's never been so perfect. Okay, sometimes it's happened. Adverse event happen. So you need to report. Be transparent. Okay, accountability. Okay, you need to be responsible on what you are doing. Okay, confidentiality. This is what we discussed previously. Okay, confidentiality, all the participants' informations you need to protect. Okay, intellectual property. Okay, so if you are dealing, if you are in a research group, okay, maybe the innovation or invention is not the sole of your your what we call experts. Maybe it's also a bit of your supervisors input or other researchers input. Then you need to register the intellectual property as a team. Okay, do not claim it as your own, your sole, like solely yours. Okay, it's unethical, it's irresponsible conduct. Okay, non-discrimination. Okay, responsible, social responsibility, responsible publication. This is also important. Okay, if after you did your thesis, you can actually publish your article or your works. Okay, of course, it should be responsible in a way there is no plagiarism. Okay, there is no data fabrication. Okay, what does it mean, data fabrication? So you fabricate the data, you create the data instead of using the real data. Okay, you fabricate means you like the data to follow your needs. Example, okay, you don't want the data become negative. Example, you fabricate the data, so you conduct intervention and you found out your intervention is not useful, or you find your intervention is not benefit the participants, then you change your data. So that is kind of irresponsible conduct as a student, of course, and a researcher. Okay, don't ever change your data. Yeah, just report as it is. Okay, just report as it is. If there is missing data, it's a other story. Okay, missing data we need to treat. Okay, it's either by statistical way, or maybe expert judgment. Okay, so it's different. This one is when you try to fabricate. Okay, so it's already the last minute, and then you have done your data collection yet, then you try to fabricate all your data. Okay, that's an responsible publication. Okay, or maybe you just copy or you plagiarism. Okay, you just use the previous published study and then you resubmit. That's also a irresponsible publication. Okay. Okay. So now what is it? 11:30. So I have another 1 hour. Okay. Maybe I just try to finish my my lecture. Okay. Maybe after that we can discuss. Right. 30 minutes later. I think I would like to drink water. Okay. Let me drink water. All right. So now That's just interaction basically. So I've told all of you about existing guidelines, okay, all the terms. Okay, what is actually ethics? Okay, so according to dictionary, okay, ethics is a set of moral principles, a theory of system of moral values. Ethics also considered as the principle of conduct governing an individual or a group. Okay. Okay, so they use the words of ethics and moral interchangeably, I would say. Okay. So in ethics, there are three major areas studied. Okay. It can be a descriptive ethics. Okay. Tells about what people view as right or wrong. Normative ethics, what we think we ought to do and why. And meta-ethics, how we know what is right. So meta-ethics are more like the philosophical, okay? But what we are learning today are more to normative ethics, okay? What we think we ought to do and why, okay? And bioethics is practical ethics applied to health, medicine, science, and technology. So what we are learning today are all related to bioethics, of course, right? So what is the difference between ethics and moral? Okay, I think we can use both interchangeably, but then moral are the things that set by the what we call community. Okay, because some community has different culture, maybe their set of moral are more or less different. Okay. So what is research ethic? Okay. So before you conduct your research, you need to apply ethics. So what is research ethics? Actually, guidelines for the responsible conduct of research. Okay. In addition, it educates and monitors scientists conducting research to ensure a high ethical standard. Okay. Right. So if you are doing clinical research, I think there is actually a slides online on how to apply ethics by I think I need to open this, but maybe you can exploit later. Okay, this is how you can apply research ethics related to clinical research in I think this one is under Erlangga. But from medical department. Okay, but then what I'm going to talk about today is more to public health, because I know all of you are from public health, so most likely you are not doing any drugs trial or any what we call intervention trial. Okay, so how does public health ethics differs from medical ethics? Okay, what is the principle as well? Okay, we look all this. Okay, so this is a case study. Okay, case study in ethical collection and use of public health surveillance data. Okay, so in 2005, New York City Department of Health hygiene plan to expand its chronic disease reporting system for diabetes. Okay, the name-based public health surveillance registry would now require that, in addition to reporting results to the ordering physician, reports from what we call see the be reported directly to the Public Health Department registry regardless of patient consent. Okay, the health department then would notify both individual and their physician when the patient's diabetes was not controlled properly. Okay, the health department would provide referral to diabetes-related services that were available to the patient in their community. So there is a case, okay, in which there is existing data, then to contact back, so that notify the patient's diabetes was not controlled properly. Okay. So is this collection and use of public health data ethically justified? Okay. Because like digging out back the data, okay, and found that, oh, actually the patient is not in a good condition because the diabetes was not controlled properly. Okay.
Lah ngapain kita lagi bareng? Kita mobil loh.
Sorry. Alright. Okay. So, okay, before we try to answer the question, let's see what is public health ethics. Let's see. Okay. So you are all public health scientists, right? You're all taking public health science. So I am sure that you know that public health has been defined as what society does to assure the condition for people to be healthy. Okay. So the ethic is a systematic process to clarify, based on ethical principles, values, and belief of stakeholders and scientific and other information. Okay. So we know that to understand medical or trial, any medical related research ethics, we need to refer back to like Geneva Declaration, Helsinki, all related to the health care, right? So for public health research, we also need to go back to study back the public health ethics itself. Okay, so we know that public health is all about act. Okay, so we need to see whether the act is ethical by clarifying, prioritizing, justify the possible causes of the act. Okay, so that's what does mean with the public health ethics. Okay, it's also been defined as moral governance for public health to determine what we ought to do, what a public health practitioners ought to do. Okay, application of decision-making framework. Okay, where it can determine the course of action when value the conflict. Okay. However, we know that public health ethics is relatively new. Okay, because we know that the Helsinki Declaration, like what started from 1976, something like that. Okay, so maybe public health practitioner may already be acquainted with the 4 principles these fields rely on. Okay, what is the 4 principles? What we have learned from this morning. Okay, 4 principles in any biomedical ethics. First is autonomy, non-maleficence, beneficence, and justice. Okay, so this is the abstract, okay, the gist of the Helsinki Declaration, Geneva Declaration, or Nuremberg Declaration. This is the gist or the principle of all these ethical guidelines. Okay, first is respect a person's freedom to choose what's right for them. Okay, that's why there is consent form. Okay, the autonomy. Okay, whether they are voluntary to participate or not. Okay, non-maleficent, do no harm. This is where our ethics board will weigh the what we call the risk and the benefit of your study. Okay, no harm. Okay, and beneficent. Okay, of course, all the intervention are made with the intention to do good. Okay, to improve the treatment and so on. Okay, justice. Okay, non-discrimination. Okay, privacy and confidentiality. Protect their rights. Okay, treat and care fairly. Okay, if there is a harm, should compensate. So these are 4 principles of biomedical ethics. So this is the one you need to remember. Okay. So in public health, why is it important to have ethics? Okay, same. Okay, we know that public health has to prevent morbidity and mortality, right? You, as a public health scientist, you would like to prevent society on morbidity and mortality. Okay, so you usually take public health action. Okay, but then there are three points, three main things that can influence your action. Okay, you would like to know what we are able to do based on the evidence. Okay, we are permitted to do based on the law. Okay, and what we should do. Here is come ethics. Okay, so this is where ethics guide public health practitioner in planning of any of the action to prevent morbidity and mortality. Okay. So this is operating ethical principle of what should we do or what we should do. Okay, it should be using evidence-based intervention, of course. Okay, as a public health practitioner, you look back all the evidence available. Okay, use the evidence-based intervention. Don't create a new one without knowing the impact of one. Okay, focus on the fundamental causes of the disease. Okay, just take COVID-19 as our example. Okay, so you are all public health practitioner, right? Okay, so if you are dealing with COVID-19 pandemic, okay, how would you plan your public health action? Okay, so you need to use evidence-based. Maybe if there is no COVID-19 before, can always look back on SARS, Ebola, how they actually treat all these infectious disease, right? Be transparent and accountable. Okay, if there is daily numbers of infection, as a public health, you need to be transparent and report it as it is. Okay, reduce inequities. Okay, there is no inequalities. You should reduce harm and burden in any of the action. If you are decide like movement restriction or whatsoever, it should be reduced harm and burden. Interfere with liberty as little as possible. Okay, infringe on autonomy only as necessary. Of course, respect privacy and confidentiality. Okay, I remember when the COVID-19 strikes on Malaysia, the first cases of COVID-19, there is like chaos. People are very afraid of people who get infected, so they isolate. It's not isolate. It's some things like discriminate, like social, more like social relationship. It's not there anymore because of the fear, right? So, as a public health practitioner, or when you're planning the act, right, or the action, you need to really respect privacy. Maybe don't reveal anyone, their place whatsoever, and confidentiality, so that they protect the participants or the humans or the individuals, right? Okay. Of course, in any act, it should be the benefit outweighs the infringement. Okay. So, what is the difference between clinical medicine and public health? Of course, the patient who will be benefit by the action. Okay. In clinical medicine, patient is individual. Okay. Individual benefit, individual orientation, individual consent. Okay. But then in any public health action, the patient is the population. Okay. It will be population benefit. Okay. Community orientation, community engagement. So this is all the main differences on the clinical medicine and public health. That's why for today's class, I will emphasize also ethics in public health itself. Okay, because I know that you are not a clinician, so the ethics related to clinical trial are more likely not related or not will be benefited for you all to use, like placebo and all. But you also need to aware that in public health itself, there are set of ethic guideline which can be comparable to clinical medicine. So when we talk about public health ethics, it's about population. Okay, clinical medicine ethics is about individuals. Okay, and the approach is also will be different, of course. In clinical medicine, in research, we look at medical intervention, the research trial, the drugs trial, that to find a cure or treat after the condition occurs. But then in public health setting, in public health ethics, there are non-medical means, of course. It will include policy, law, sanitation, behavior change to prevent illness and promote health. Okay, so there's the distinct what we call obvious difference lah. Of course, clinical medicine to cure after a condition occurs. Public health is to prevent illness and promote health. So any of your research pertaining or aiming to actually prevent illness instead of cure or treatment. Okay. And in clinical medicine, there is limited number similarly trained professional involved in the research. But then in public health, there was diverse practitioners. So I can see from all your like what we call department, you have health administration and policy, you have nutrition, you have occupational health and safety, environmental health, epidemiology. Okay, so all these public health related research are more diverse, okay, as compared to clinical medicine ethics. Okay, and then the ethical consent is also a bit different. Okay, in clinical medicine, they emphasize on individual liberty, autonomy, privacy. Okay, beneficent or non-maleficent. distributive justice. Okay, but then in public health, it's more what we call it's more in a larger scale. I would say larger scale. So we are thinking about respect for persons, interdependence, interrelatedness, social good. Okay, social good, avoiding social harm instead of individual good, but social good. Okay, social justice, human rights. Okay, so that's what public health studies concern for, right? So when you are conducting this study, is there any social good? Okay, so this is the more important things that been emphasizing in public health studies. So this is ethics skills in practice. So this is not research, particularly in research per se, but I think we can also implement or apply all these skills into your research ethics. Okay. First is to identify ethical dimension. Okay, and then after you identify it, you need to articulate the ethical dilemmas. Okay, don't worry, I will also show some examples so that you can try to understand how to apply all these skills in your research. Okay, deliberate a path forward, implement and evaluate. Okay, so the first one is need to identify ethical dimension. Okay, so this is the what evidence for what we can do and just reasoning for what we should do. Shown example, right? Okay, so you conduct public health study, right? So you want to implement vaccine, right? Example. So can this vaccine prevent COVID-19 influenza? So you need to identify so you can do vaccine, but then you need to reasoning whether you should do vaccination. Okay, can this vaccine prevent COVID-19 influenza? Should we require all public health staff to be vaccinated? So in Malaysia, we already at the level of booster. Should we require all public health staff to get boosted? Something like that. Okay, we need to reason what we should do. Okay, but you need to know that ethical questions are different from personal preference and cultural custom. Okay, other example. Okay, should our department implement casual Friday? Okay, this is all personal preference. Should we promote employee based on how they dress to work? Okay, this is also related to cultural customs. So we should not ask this kind of question. Okay, it's also different from a legal question, something like should a child who has not been vaccinated be allowed into school? Should we force parents to vaccinate their children? Okay, so this is different question. Okay, right? Because in Malaysia we have one issue that day in which we try to ban teacher who are unvaccinated to go to school. Okay, but then the ministry changed the law. Okay, so they allowed those unvaccinated teachers to teach in school. Okay, and then what are the values associated with public health action and policy? Are values in conflict? If there is no conflict, then it should be okay. Then articulate ethical dilemmas. Okay, identify which of these motivations are in conflict. Okay, whether there is conflict in individual liberty and social good. Okay, example is movement restriction, right? So when you do movement restriction during COVID-19, the social good are what we call more important than individual liberty. Okay, so we need to articulate the dilemmas. Okay, we need to weigh what is the most important. We need to prioritize. Okay, equity, reciprocity, and justice. Okay, maybe some of in other country, maybe there is the vaccine is too expensive, and then the population cannot afford it. So there is like equity. The poor citizen can't afford the vaccine, but then those who are higher income had the vaccine. So there is dilemmas in equity, something like that. Okay, public beneficial and individual privacy. Okay, in public health surveillance. Okay, so when we report whether there is positive COVID, example, should we report in this house there is COVID positive, or we should protect the privacy, something like that. So this is the dilemmas. Okay, so as a public health, you need to consider all this. Even though it's more to practice, but then when you are conducting or planning for your research method, you need to also apply all these skills, I would say. Okay, and deliberate a path forward. Okay, so this one, mutual respect, I would say. Okay, understanding of values at stake, principle, reason giving. Okay, so after you have articulated the dilemma, you need to deliberate a path forward. Okay, and of course implement and evaluate after you gather all the evidence, incorporate new information, ask stakeholders, make necessary changes, learn lesson. Okay, use as analogous case in the future. Okay, so just like what we have in COVID-19, even though it's a new case, but we can look back on the SARS outbreak and Ebola outbreak, on how actually public health counter all these issues, pandemic. Okay. I think that's sum up my presentation. Okay, so now it's 12. Okay, so basically the gist of today's lecture. Okay, what is most important things in today's lectures? Penelitian, etika penelitian kesehatan. Basically, you know that in any health research, we need ethics. Okay? So, what is the underlying principle of ethics in health research? There is 4 main principles just now. Okay, autonomy, non-maleficent, beneficent, justice. Okay, you need to understand all these 4, and then you need to understand what does it mean with consent form, informed consent. What does it mean with the review ethics board? Okay. What document needed to be submitted when you are conducting applying for ethics? Okay, of course the proposal is important, the protocol, consent form, patient information sheet, and also what we call the investigator CV. Okay, so what is the difference between clinical medicine and public health? Okay, most of the study, most of it, the approach itself is different. The target itself are different. Clinical medicine are more to individuals. Public health are more to population based. Okay. All right. And then what influence for public health to Asian? Maybe when you are planning or designing your study, you need to consider the ethical consideration, okay, the social dilemmas, something like that. All of it into your research studies, okay, your study, when designing your study. Okay, what else? Of course, you need to be aware, of course, why is it important to become an ethical researcher, okay, in terms of being honest, you need to be responsible, you need to be transparent, you need to be like objective of a researcher. This is very important because you are just your first what we call first experience of conducting research. You need to build, you need to inculcate in yourself so that in the future you will become a very responsible researcher. Because there is a lot of researcher out there, not a lot of, I think a few of researcher out there who has actually fabricate their job, fabricate their works. They are not being honest. They change the result. This is all can bring harm to the community. Just imagine if you change your drugs trial results, the result is not effective, right? But then you change it to make it a more positive result, like this drug is effective, but then it's end up when the drugs is free to the market, released in the market, people got harm from the result, from consuming the drugs. Okay, so the impact is huge. The impact is huge. So that's why from the what we call from the very low level, I would say undergrad is very early level of research. We need to inculcate all these responsible conducts in ourselves. Okay, don't ever try to change the data. Don't ever try to being dishonest, of course. But I know all of you are very good, okay? But it's always good to remind ourselves, me, myself, to be a very responsible researcher, okay? So that we can produce a high quality, okay? So we know that what is research ethics? A guideline to what? Guideline is too wordy. We need to go to the guideline to conduct a research to ensure a high ethical standard. So when we have high ethical standard, of course the study will be reliable, okay, and also it will bring no harm, okay, non-maleficent, no harm to the communities, okay, or to the participants themselves. Okay. Right. So similarly, when you are conducting a public health act, you want the action has no harm. Okay, example, the movement restriction, right? You don't want the what we call the intention of the action is to improve, okay, to contain the infections. Okay. All right. Now 12:06. Okay, maybe open to any any like thoughts or comments from the student. This topic are very dry, I would say, because it's ethics, right? It's very dry. It's a lot of word because it's all textbook based. Because we cannot come up with our own. We need to refer to the guideline and then just use as is. Okay, like informed consent. We cannot change the words. We need to use the voluntary, the willingness, the word after having informed. All these words are important. Okay? Just like when you study law, right? You need to use all the terms correctly. Okay? Right. So privacy and confidentiality, you need to know what type of information that aspect of privacy, like age, ethnicity, educational background, okay, employment history, health history. Okay, so if the participant have a life experience, bad life experience, okay, maybe he is ex-prisoner, something like that. Okay. You need to protect their privacy data. Okay. All right. Whew. I think that's all from me. Stop share. Any question from the student? Yeah, Naufal. Hey, Naufal.
Sorry, yeah. My name is Naufal Widyandoko. First of all, I want to apologize for my poor English.
Yeah, no problem. Your English is great.
So earlier you say that we as a researcher have any responsibility to the subject if any unexpected and unwanted accident happens. So what I want to ask is, do we also have any responsibility to keep our eyes on the subject? I mean, for the subject recovery or whatsoever?
Yes, I would say yes, because as long as the subject is still undergoing, still in our study duration, then you need to keep eyes on them. But then if the study is already like, I would say graduate from the study, so no need lah. Okay, example, if you are doing exercise study, you need to follow up like what we call 6 months, right? So within the 6 months, you need to keep an eye on the subjects. After 6 months, there is no longer your responsibility, of course, because you already mentioned in the participant information sheet, you will say that you will be follow up during these 6 months and keep updated, something like that. Okay, but then if you are doing like population-based study, so you have a lot of participants. Okay, usually the harm is very minimal because we did not conduct any intervention. Okay, maybe you want to do a survey example, right? So you just mention or you just provide in the participant information sheet the information on how to seek for help. Okay, in this case you can contact this hospital, or you can go nearby to this hospital through this phone number, something like that. Okay, so usually for the your study, I think most likely more to public health. There is no intervention. Maybe just put an additional information in the participant sheet on how to get help if this event occurs, something like that. So like me, I did a survey on the psychological status. So anyone who has a psychological problem, I actually emailed them back and gave them a guide on how to seek for help. Okay, because it's not our intervention that affect them. It's just that their health status is actually alarming. It's not in a good condition, so that we need to contact them. So Nova, you are in which department?
Pardon me. Can you?
Department? Which department is it? Like health. When there are five departments, right? Health administration, nutrition, occupational health and safety, environmental health. You are from which department?
I'm in five semesters, so actually I don't have any specialty. So in 6th semester we will have our department.
So now it's just public health, like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But
So,
I have any interest in especially in occupational health and also environmental health.
okay, occupational health. I know that there are kind of study like ergonomic study. You know, ergonomic study. So
Right.
yeah, so maybe you just you can do research like you want to see the knowledge or awareness on ergonomic among like construction workers, example. And so when you found that they have very low knowledge on ergonomics, perhaps you can contact them back, something like that. Okay, that's kind of responsible as a researcher to always get back to the participants to inform them whether they have good result or not based on their assessment. But then if occupational health, if intervention trial, you may want to do to conduct a study like what we call prevention study, right? You teach them how to do things or to do some activities ergonomically, and then you will assess the impact of the intervention. So when they did it wrongly, example, or maybe the way you teach, not the way you teach, the things they learn from you will get them harm, then you need to keep eye on them. So that's one of the example of occupational health kind of study. Yeah.
Thanks for your information.
Yeah. So you can consider all these ideas.
Right. Thank you very much for your information.
No problem. No. Environmental health is interesting. Maybe you can do like air quality, right? Air quality and the impact of the health status of the population in maybe like one desa, something like that, right? Just to check the air pollution or air quality and then associate with their health status. So no need to do any intervention. So when you are doing just cross-sectional study and association study, is more what we call less harm. Okay, so usually ethics will get you past easily. Okay, so any like clinical trial, like in Malaysia, in any clinical trial, they will call us to present. But then any study like association study, there is no intervention, they just get you past easily. As long as there is no harm. Nutrition study, there is possibility of conduct intervention kind of study. just like you want to check whether I know Indonesian call it lalap. Am I right? Lalap. We call it ulam. Lalap, right? Am I right, Naufal?
Right.
Lalap, yeah.
Like raw vegetables, right?
Yeah, raw vegetable, lalap. So you want to see the nutritional benefit of this lalap on like in Malaysia, in my university, we did ulam raja. Yeah, ulam raja. Maybe you can use jengkol or something like jengkol and the effect on cognitive, right? So that's can be done in by the nutrition students. If you want to use clinical trial studies, maybe you can just give those intervention more lalap and then the control no lalap and then you compare. But then if they had like if they eat jengkol too much and then they got problem peeing, then that will be the potential adverse event. Am I right? If you eat jengkol too much, you will have problem in urinating. Right. So that's potential adverse event that you need to get back to the student, to the subjects. Yeah. Okay, what else? Department of Health, Policy Health. So Policy Health, I think there's more study, policy study, like you try to come up with a framework, okay, or and then you test the framework to the participants, okay, anyone from who interested in Department of Health Administration and Policy Health. So, example, you want to come up with false guideline. Example, false guideline is whenever one older people fall, what they need to do. So this kind of guideline we would like to test. So that is one of the example of the study. So I think this kind of study has the least adverse harm lah. We call harm. There's a lot more benefit this kind of study. Department of Epidemiology, Biostats, Population and Health Promotion. This department has a lot of type of study that can be done. Okay, so when I think in Indonesia itself there is a Department of Statistics of Indonesian, right? In Malaysia we have the Department of Statistics Malaysia. We can just download the data and analyze the data. So maybe you just want to see the demographic changes, okay, the infertility rate, something like that, right? So this is, of course, this is not dealing with the participants, just using secondary data, there is no harm. Okay, but for us in Malaysia, we also have Malaysian elders longitudinal study. We actually include almost 5,000 Malaysian elders. Okay, so this is kind of population-based study, but then it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of what we call funding to conduct this kind of study. There is our risk. A potential risk is just that when we meet the older people will get fatigued on answering the interviews, the interview questions. So that is the potential risk of this kind of population-based study. So when I apply for the ethics, I put in my proposal the potential risk of my study is that all participants will get fatigued due to the long time taken to complete the whole questionnaires. Okay, so I think I give enough example, right, for each type of study. So any other question? Good question, Nova. Any other question? So if there is no question, I wish you all good luck with your proposal. You need to present your proposal, right? For your thesis? No. Yes. No. Okay. Remember to prepare a consent form if you are dealing with people. Okay. Or maybe your thesis is not this year, is it? Final year.
Next year.
Next year.
Next year.
It's very soon.
On when they defend thesis, bachelor thesis, I mean.
So next year, okay.
Okay.
So good luck with your thesis defense. Yeah, I hope you all can publish your data in a journal, good journal, so that I can read it. Yeah.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah. I think that's all from me, Dr. Sigit.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much for the times, Dr. Sumaya. I'm sorry, I have two activity today that I have to attend by offline.
Wow, so busy.
Something like this. So I still have also activity during Saturday. So thank you so much for the times and the opportunity for having us this morning. And we would like to see you again in the other subject. So if anybody for the other student for this class also want to follow the other class of Dr. Sumaya, we can share the next chapter in the next information. So thank you very much for the kind attention for students, and see you next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.